Tony, a lot of guys played well for you tonight, but I'll ask you about Ty. He really seems to relish those late game, late clock situations, doesn't he?
Yeah, those were impressive shots. Sometimes we got the switch, sometimes we didn't, but he just needs a little space, and if you come up too close, he'll get in the lane and make some tough shots. But I'd like to say that's just as great engineering of the offense on that. That's guys making plays. And when the game gets to that, you try to give the right space, put the ball in the right guy's hands, but guys make plays. And he made some big shots, as did Kyle, and plays were made. Credit to Louisville. That's a talented team, well coached. Really, they exploited some things. We didn't guard perfectly, and they made us look out of position at times. And offensively, we leaned on some things there, but guys made some plays. And I do want to mention, I'm so happy for Marco. I thought, what a lift he gave us. And that's just, he works, he puts his time, and he reminds me of Devin in that regard, and we needed it all.
Tony, how concerned were you kind of coming in with some of the personnel? I mean, obviously Nigel's not here, or he was here, didn't play, right. But DeAndre and some guys with the flu. Just was there a little anxiety on your part? Well,
Louisville will concern you because you know how good they are. But yeah, we didn't know. Devin practiced yesterday for the first time. Mamadi did, and Devin's a warrior. DeAndre just did a little bit yesterday, so we weren't sure if we were going to have him, and I thought he did as well as he could have, considering that he played through that. And then, with the suspension with Nigel, our backcourt gets thin. So, and I didn't know how much Devin was going to be able to play. Foul trouble with Ty, all those things kind of entered in, but Marco, again, was huge for that. And I would have played DeAndre some on the perimeter, but I just didn't think he needed all those minutes, and Marco showed that he deserved those minutes.
Staying with that Marco theme, Louisville's a team that puts a lot of ball pressure.
Yeah.
When we found out today about Nigel, when did you know you wouldn't have him, and what did Marco do to kind of get ready specifically for Louisville?
Well, Marco, guys get ready by how they approach their pre-practice, during practice, how they keep their head up. He works. Marco's sure-handed. He's a strong young man, sure-handed. He's even young for his grade, and we knew yesterday that would be the case, and so he prepared in that regard. And we got him some more reps in yesterday's practice, and tough team to get thrown into the fire in this setting, but very poised, and so that's a credit to him, and he's a fine young man.
Tony, he'd played all of 6 minutes, I think, in 3 ACC games before tonight. How do you keep someone like that engaged in practice, and then has he shown that kind of confidence, because he looked completely comfortable on the floor out there tonight?
Yeah, I think because of our leaders, guys like Devin talking to him, and Isaiah, stay up. And we talk about that, and every coach does. You never know when your number is going to be called. That next man up mentality. Guy could get in foul trouble, injured. And I've told him a couple times, I was close. Stay ready at halftime in a few games if I didn't like some things. But we talked about his opportunity yesterday, and the way, again, he's a worker. He works. And again, I don't know, because he's from down south Texas, he just has an easy, slow, easy way about him, and that served him well today. And, a couple things you saw, he wasn't used to finding people in transition D, but we had some trouble with some of our veterans that way. And but it's just good to see him. I mean, he works on that shot, and he works on that pull-up, and that's promising for him.
Yeah, Tony, coming off an emotional win on Saturday, what did you do, or did you have to do anything to get this team refocused, and how do you think they responded?
Yeah, I mean, we knew we were playing Louisville. The position that they're in now, we just talked about, there's going to be a heightened sense of focus and readiness that every opponent's going to come after you with. Just how we have to be ready every time we play, but you go and play at Duke, and you know what you got to be. You got to lace them up tight, and you better be into it. And if we get caught flat-footed, because teams are going to come at us with that kind of concentration, we'll be in trouble. So we said, let's lean into what we know how to do. Defend to the best of our abilities, be sound in the areas we have to be, but be aware of the readiness of your opponent. We talked a lot about that.
Tony, David Padgett's in an unusual situation this year coaching the team, and you mentioned they exploited some things. What did you see from Louisville, and what was it they exploited?
Yeah, well, they're talented, and he does a good job. And I know Trent Johnson, that's with him on the staff. Their whole staff does a good job. Trent was the head coach at Stanford. Excellent mind. Actually was at LSU. We played him a couple times. But I just, they took advantage of some of our ball screen coverage. They took advantage when our hands were down and shooting threes over us. Some of those were just our part. But they ran their offense with great pace. They really get you moving. And they made us have to make some adjustments at halftime that I think helped. But well-organized game plan, the pace at which they ran, the things that they did, and that's a credit, again, to their coaching staff. And then, I think, the game that Ray played, Spalding, he's special. And then, obviously, the plays he made, they have some nice talent and, again, well coached.
Yeah, Tony, that's kind of you to get Kyle those 2 minutes rest tonight. But
yeah,
it plays
Doug,
third.
you're usually sitting there. I'm a little thrown off.
Yeah, well,
Did you get here late or what? Huh? So, all right.
Recently played 40 minutes in a game. We don't see that a lot from your players. Played 38 tonight. Just talk about his stamina.
Yeah, he's obviously light, thin. He's light on his feet. He has a big motor, and it seems like he can go. And I always check with those guys, and the timeouts help. And he gets, people bump him and do a lot of things, but he's kind of tireless, and he usually doesn't want to come out. We try to give him just little breaks, but that was needed again, those minutes, in light of everything. And I tried to get, Ty's foul trouble gave him some time on the bench more, and then Devin gave everything he had, but he wasn't quite full strength.
Tony, I think you had 3 turnovers in the first 4 or 5 minutes tonight, but you end the game with only 7. To have 7 turnovers against that defense, only 5 at Cameron, again, your ball security seems to be very good in this little stretch the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's been huge for us. Again, that's kind of leaning into what we know works for us. And, every possession is so valuable. That's why when we have a breakdown, it hurts. But that's a key component for us, what we like to call a non-negotiable. And, rare Ty got picked. Kyle had that travel. He just kind of fell. But for the most part, they're sure-handed, and they're, they put us a little pressure in the backcourt, and then I think our guys were just obviously aware of we got to get a shot up every time. And, the way they were shooting it, we were shooting it. It was a good thing, but it's been a huge key in our success.